Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me and our live from Mallard Hall Estate series. In this episode, I sit down with Brielle Cotterman. She is an Inc. 5000 and TEDx speaker, publicity expert, personal brand designer, and advocate for domestic violence survivors. She helps entrepreneurs craft powerful personal brands, scale to 7 figures, and share their stories in major media outlets. In this episode, we learn that your story is your most powerful asset. Brielle reveals how women can leverage their personal narratives to build influence, impact, and income. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Talk Wealthy to Me podcast. I'm Michelle Taylor, your host, and I am so excited to have with me today somebody who I consider a dear friend, but also an expert that you're going to learn so much from. Brielle, nice to have you here with us.
So honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I know so much about your story, and I think that that's the big takeaway is the story. So Brielle is, in my opinion, my go-to PR fairy godmother who knows the importance of telling a story and makes you feel empowered to tell yours. So tell everybody about Brielle.
Well, thank you. So I am a publicity expert for more than 15 years. I'm a personal brand strategist and designer, and I'm the founder of the Influential Leader Agency and also the president of CEO School. I am a world's champion equestrian. I'm a mom of 3 amazing children, married to the love of my life, and I live on a horse farm in Kentucky. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about, and you make it all look so easy, which I think is the goal for all of us. But one of the things that I remember so well when we first really started talking is the way that you're able to put people at ease and pull their story out of them when they don't know what the story is. So
thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I think that it's so important for us as women in general to do better at having conversations and telling our stories to each other, to the other women in our lives, because you just never know what the impact will be.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely. So, and it doesn't matter the good, the bad, the indifferent, those stories in the middle. We need to be sharing more and more and more. So I've been married to my husband for almost 6 years. Many, many years ago, I am a survivor of attempted murder and domestic violence. And the entire trajectory of my life changed in a moment.
Sure.
And I spent many years playing small. And I spent many years hiding behind that story and playing small professionally. Any person who survives any sort of abuse, there comes a lot of shame with that experience. And so my biggest fear was I'm educated, I'm successful, I've done all of these things. I don't want to be stigmatized. I don't want to be labeled as a survivor of domestic violence when I am so much more than that. And so I let that experience keep me small for a really long time. And I let those fears take over. And that story owned me for a very long time. But it wasn't until I started sharing my own story that women around me, women in my community, women that I knew, came forward and shared that they had been in similar experiences. Mm-hmm. And that to me was there was a major shift in my business because I finally found the courage to start sharing that story. And when I did, out of the woodwork came all of these women who had experienced difficult things. And I recognized exactly what you said. Women are not sharing their stories enough. Mm-hmm. It's difficult for us sometimes to take ownership of these experiences that we may have been conditioned to believe are not things that we should share about, not things that we should talk about, things that we should keep to ourselves, especially experiences where there is some sort of stigma attached to that, or something that maybe makes you look less than.
Yeah.
And so I think for most of us, we've been conditioned to believe we share the happy, we share the shiny. And I was definitely in that position. But I will say, when I made that transition and I started sharing my story, none of these horrible things that I had crafted in my mind actually happened. I thought people were going to judge me and label me and not take me seriously. And, I had this whole list of fears associated with it. But what actually happened was everyone leaned in. Yeah. And I recognized that there were other people in my world who had experienced similar things. I started doing a ton of research. I realized that it's more common, more than 34% of all women will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. There's a multitude of things. People go through divorces. They lose their job. They go through an abusive situation. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
That's right. And so I have, through the Influential Leader Agency, I give people, and primarily women, but we give men and women a stage. We give them access to the world stage to share their story, whether that's a positive story or a story of overcoming.
Because one of the best things that you say is, you know what I'm going to say?
I don't know.
Your story belongs as much to you as it does to the people that need to hear it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God. And the first time you said that to me, I had chills because I've been in a relationship that was not healthy. And, it goes back, and same thing with talking about money.
Right.
I have many terrible decisions that I've made around finances that and before I met you, I used to think, oh my goodness, here I am advising so many women and business owners. I can't let them know that I did the craziest, silliest things.
Right.
Because it makes me lose credibility. But you teach me and other women to understand that those are non-traditional
credibility markers.
Yeah. That because I've come out on the other side of it, well, of course that can help someone else.
That's right. Because the experience gives you credibility. We can all go to school and we can get the education and we can have the degrees and the certifications and all of that. However, all of those things coupled together, if you've never been in those shoes and you've never experienced that, it doesn't necessarily equate to the same level of credibility. So when you can share with us and say, I was in this position, I know that if you've made poor financial choices in the past, you can overcome.
Yeah.
I share my story because you're exactly right. And I do say it's the last line of my TEDx talk. Your story belongs just as much to those that need to hear it as it does to you. And it's the truth. There are people who need to hear that. And so we can sit and we can sit with our shame that we're feeling about these stories, or we can embrace it and recognize that we're all human and this is part of the human experience, and we can share it in a way that creates connection and actually inspires so many people.
Oh, I love it. So ladies, the biggest thing I can hope that you get from this is that your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, the middle stories that you think are the mundane, there's somebody out there that wants to hear that story and that will take something from it that could change their lives.
That's right.
So tell your stories. And now I love the conversations we've had about women and wealth and money. And for you, I've always loved the story of your comeuppance. And, you were raised and had an amazing childhood. You got to do a lot of great things. And I remember you saying to me once that you were put in the right situations because your parents wanted to set you up for this abundant, successful life. So you were hobnobbing, if you will, in the equestrian world and with the schools that you were going to. But then when you were on your own, you flew the nest, then you were like, okay, how do I do this on my own?
Now what? Yeah.
And I think so many people, because as parents, all we want is to give our kids and set them up for lives that are better than ours. And I know when you said that, I'm like, man, am I doing that? I want to make sure that we're not missing the moments of teaching and encouraging to the little people that
Absolutely.
are looking at us needing that guidance.
Yeah. So, I mean, I recognize 100% for sure the most challenging time for me in my life, most challenging like time period outside of experiencing big T trauma was when I transitioned from university to like adulthood,
Yeah.
you know,
If we can call
on
it
your
that.
own,
Yeah.
you've got like responsibilities, you have rent or maybe even a mortgage, or you have a car payment. And, you know, I had all of those things. So I wanted nice things. I'd been around nice things, experienced that the majority of my life. And I recognized that my parents worked very, very hard to give me those types of opportunities. And I still didn't, I didn't realize how expensive it was. I didn't, because I had the financial support of my parents.
Sure.
So I didn't realize how expensive it was to go out to dinner or to go out to lunch or any of those things. And I also know that I didn't know how to make money. I knew it was important and I knew that I wanted it and I wanted to be able to make money, but I didn't really know how to make money because I had not necessarily been out like in the workforce, actively in the workforce until that point.
So what are you doing differently now as a mama?
So this is a conversation that we have a lot with my children. And this is something that I share with them. You know, my daughter specifically, she's 17 years old. When I was that age, there were very few women who were extremely successful as leaders in the business space. When I saw women who were extremely successful financially, they were models or actors or singers. This was in the 90s, you know, so there weren't really these women leaders out there. So I think it's really awesome that kids now have the opportunity, both boys and girls have the opportunity to see women who are in the forefront of the business world, making massive impact, making a lot of money, creating a lot of opportunity. And that's one huge difference from when I was that age to now. And my daughter has been working since she was 14 years old. So it's not that I think having them have a job at a young age is the solution, but we have active conversations a lot about it's awesome to want money, but you have to also understand how to make money.
Well, and how to make money work for you once you
That's
get
right.
it. And we're just not having those conversations enough. And you're right. Having somebody that you can look at and say, okay, she's done this.
Right.
And it's something I can do because let's face it, not everybody, just because you want to be a model or a singer or an actress doesn't mean that you've got the God-given talents to do so.
Well, and I think it's a different world now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, back then that was, like I said, there weren't Sarah Blakely's to look up to. There weren't these women who are out there doing big things in the business space. It was women who had financial freedom and abundance and wealth. It was created through a very different journey. And so now I do feel like we're really lucky that, and I think it's really great for my sons too. I have 2 sons and I think it's great for them to see women leaders as well. So, you know, we have a lot of active conversations about money. My kids have investment accounts, they have savings accounts, and they are actively, they have chores, they have lots of different things that they do so that they can know how to make money as well.
I love that. And okay, so if you could talk to Brielle at 17, at 21, what do you think that girl needed to hear to feel empowered about money that you may be telling somebody listening?
She needed to hear that money isn't everything. And money is important, but it's all going to work out because I at that young age, I put so much pressure on myself right out of college. Like I said, that was such a challenging time for me. I felt like I was confused. I was lost. I felt like, maybe even, I don't know if I was bordering on a little depressed or something, but I was working a full-time job for the first time, which I was really excited to do, to go out and work. But I also felt like I needed to create income. So I ended up taking a job that I didn't love right out of school. And so I didn't understand my the balance that I needed, my own happiness, the importance of that, and how that all positively affects your ability to create wealth.
Well, and I think that what you're doing for your daughter now is so special. So you both have a love of horsemanship, and it's amazing what you guys are able to do together in that space. And you've shared your daughter wants to focus on that as her lifelong passion. And she's a junior in high school.
She's a junior in high school.
And she already knows that she wants to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, yes.
And
she's been an entrepreneur many times over already. She had a cupcake business. She makes macarons. She has a macaron business. Before that, she had a slime business. So she's been an entrepreneur since way back.
And that's amazing, though, because there is a component of that I think you're born with.
I agree.
So she obviously got that from you. But also, I think that it's interesting that she's had you as an example to show her the way. And look at what she's doing now.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, that's all you can ever hope for.
That's right. No, I'm super proud of her. And, in Boston, my son, who's 13, I mean, he's been asking. So when Whitley was 14 and she got her first job, he was 10. And so he's been begging since he was 10 years old, when can I work, or when can I do this? And, so he's always looking for creative ways to start a business or create an online company. That's what he's trying to do right now. So it's like, I am obviously a huge believer in entrepreneurship, not just for myself, but I help so many incredible people do amazing things in the world, and not just make big financial impacts, but make impacts beyond that. And my children see that and they experience it. And I'm sure it's the same in your home. When mommy and daddy are both entrepreneurs and founders and super passionate about the work that they do, you have conversations at the dinner table sometimes about revenue and, just like really interesting and engaging conversations. And I don't ever feel like that's something I want to shield the kids from. I want them to understand the decisions that we make and the conversations that we have, and understand how empowering entrepreneurship can be, both financially and from an impact perspective.
Well, and you never know what they're picking up, right?
That's right. Oh, of course.
It's
everything
wild that you're like, oh my gosh, you don't listen to me when I want you to, and you're in front of me, but you remember this conversation. So I think exposing them to those kind of conversations and thoughts is so important.
It is.
And with that, I mean, being a thought leader in your space is something that you are a master at helping people identify and create.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the women that are listening, where should someone start that they think, hey, I've got this passion and I know that I have a story to share? Where do they even start?
Well, so one, it's really important that you start your own thought leadership as early as possible. So the worst thing that I see happen, which is exactly what I did, is that you build your business and you don't pay any attention to your own personal brand or your own thought leadership. You're heads down, building the company, building the business, and then you look up and you realize, oh my gosh, to get to the level that I really want to get, people have to know who I am and what I stand for. And so that is my number one piece of advice. Start early as possible, and focus. So narrow your topics of conversation. When you're sharing stories, you don't have to share all of the details. You can share small snippets and you can create connection and inspire action, because that's what a story should do. And we have this fabulous opportunity through our screens to reach people all over the world through social media and publicity. And once you get your stories really, really dialed in and you can really clearly and succinctly communicate who you are, what you do, and what you stand for, then start amplifying your brand. Amplify it through social media. Go after media opportunities, even if it's local and regional media. I think a lot of times people discount local and regional media, but sometimes they can be the most powerful tools.
Organic.
100%.
Because people are seeing you out in the community and you're going to get quick recognition there more so than on a national stage where it's a flooded market.
It is. And think about it too from a pitching perspective. Good Morning America is getting a lot more pitches than your regional morning talk show. And so if you can come to your regional morning talk show, there's a reason why you're newsworthy, because you have a connection to that location.
Yeah. And, it's so easy to forget that the foundation, building the strong foundation, you can't build the roof before you build that.
That's right.
And I think that needs to start in a space that you've got the most natural support. And yeah, it starts small. Don't think that you have to shoot for the moon and hope for the best.
That's right.
Have some strategy. Start where your feet are and let your good story spread.
And take you where you want to go.
Go.
So, and I think, step number one, so start early. Keep your areas of your topics of conversation as narrow as possible. Mm-hmm. People tell me all the time, I want to be a speaker. Well, that's fabulous. But what are you going to speak about? You know what you're going to speak about. You have basically one topic that you talk about. But I can tell you there's a lot of people who are speaking about a lot of different things. Now, if I'm going to hire somebody to speak about women in wealth, I want to come to the very best. I don't want to come to somebody who talks about women in wealth and who talks about, traveling and who also talks about building businesses in some other niche. And, you have to focus and choose your niche and stay in that spot. And then pursuing your thought leadership becomes so much simpler. So staying narrow, starting early, and then thinking about what is it ultimately that you want to create. I cannot help you to develop a strategy unless we know where you ultimately want to go. If we know where we're starting and where we're finishing, then we can build a strategy all day long. But if we don't know where we're going, it's almost impossible.
Help you get there?
Right. That's right.
Well, okay. So with that in mind, what is next for you and what you're building?
Well, the Influential Leader Agency is an organization. We've just gone through a rebrand over this past year. It's been Brielle Cotterman Media historically for many, many years. Our team is dialed in. We have an incredible team, which you have experienced. We have so many fabulous clients that we serve all over the world. And I'm going back to my roots. So this is the first time I'm saying this in public. So excited. This is fun. So I'm going back to my roots. So when I first got into the PR world, I got into this space by ghost authoring books. And I was ghost authoring subject matter expert books. And I was working with one of the largest PR firms in Boston, which also had a publishing imprint. And I told Paige, who was the owner, I said, I can pitch these people because I'm a secondary expert. I already know all of their content because I'm writing their book in their voice. And so I was getting all of these incredible opportunities. And then I really shifted into more of the pitching space. So before the end of the year, and I don't have a very firm date yet, but we will be launching our own publishing imprint.
Oh my gosh. That is so
big
exciting.
News. It is. It's big news.
Well, thanks for sharing it here first. I love that. Well, and everybody has a story to tell.
That's right. And everybody deserves the opportunity to share that story. And I also want to say this, your story doesn't have to be filled with drama and trauma in order to make an impact, in order to be inspirational and help someone. And you don't have to share every detail. So a lot of times people are scared about that. They get really caught up, and the reality is you can share enough to make a really significant difference in a way that feels safe
and feels authentic.
Absolutely.
So, well, that's so exciting.
Yes.
So if anyone is listening and they're thinking, okay, I feel like I've got a good idea around my story and my messaging, and I do feel like I'm a thought leader, when is the right time for somebody to partner with someone like you that they need to take them to the next level?
So we work best with people who are in transition. So that person that you just mentioned, whether they are a person who has been in corporate for many, many years and they're making the transition and they're thinking, I know my story has value. I know I want to go do this and create a consulting firm or write my book finally. We work really well with those people. We work really well with the entrepreneurs who have gotten to a certain level and they're like, you know what? I want to get to that multi-7 figures, or I want to finally hit 7 figures, or whatever that pie in the sky vision is
Yep.
for them, where they're ultimately going. So when people are in transition, we work very, very well with them. And that's when thought leadership becomes super important. And I know you've heard me say a million times, we can talk about our ideas and theories and concepts all day, but until you give actionable strategies and you're able to break it down, there's really no thought leadership there. So we're asking people to think about something in a different way, but we have to give them language around that so that they can first start to speak and think about it differently before they can actually feel differently.
Well, and the little tactical things that you bring to the table are game changers, and they are,
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But truly, it's about surrounding yourself with people that are more well-versed or smarter in an area that you're not. And I think this is a perfect example. You can be screaming your story from the rooftops, but there's an art to it. And understanding how this world works can change your life if you have the right people at the table.
100%. And if you are out there and you have been going on podcasts and you are not getting any inquiries and no one is reaching out to you wanting to work with you or to take a step closer to you, hop on your email list or whatever your ask is, then chances are you're not on the right podcasts or you're not telling the right stories.
Great advice.
Well, we hear a lot, go get visible. You need to be visible. But what does that mean?
Well,
And it takes a lot of work to be able to be visible in a way that actually creates a result.
Well, especially being visible to the right people, and that's where nowadays, and I think so much has changed in how people are getting their information. Podcasts have changed the trajectory of all of that. And it's not just getting on a podcast, it's the strategy behind it. And that's where you can be a thought leadership all day, but unless you have a team that really is putting the strategy in place, you're very likely spinning your wheels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And time is such a, sweet
Precious
commodity. Yeah. So always being sure that we're guarding our time. We're very solution oriented. We're very strategic about those solutions, making sure that if you do want to expand your audience, we're not just expanding it in front of random people. You have to be really thoughtful about where you're showing up and how you're showing up.
Well, you are the very best at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And I am so thankful that we got to sit down and spend some time together. And for anybody that wants to learn more and follow along on this new venture and also just possibly become a client, where should they find you?
Well, so Instagram is always the best place. If you go to @Brielle Cotterman, I know it'll be in the show notes, but it's BRIELLE and it's Cotterman, COTTERMAN. And follow us, send me a message and just say, talk wealthy to me, which I love. It's the best podcast name ever.
Thank you.
But send me a DM, talk wealthy to me, and we'll send over a really awesome resource with lots of different ways to take a step closer to us, but then also some incredible resources about personal brand building and amplification.
I love that. All of you, please, I can't say enough about the work that Brielle is doing. And I know nowadays it is critical to have these important conversations. And if you're having them, let's get you in front of the right people to change the way that they perceive something and make a bigger impact. With that being said, and as we wrap up, thank you so much for spending time with both me and a very good friend of mine. And as always, like, follow, share, subscribe, and let's change the way women think and feel about money together.